Pay the man. Steph Curry extended. He's going to stay with the Golden State Warriors through 2026, 2027. Soon to be a $60 million man. Does this make him a dub for life? On today's Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How about some energy on this Friday? Welcome into Locked On Warriors, everyone. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're making it your first listen, we appreciate it. We are streaming wherever you get your audio podcasts. Also, you can catch us on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to both. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I'm your host, Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game. I guess I was Chuck Walter on 95.7 The Game. We'll get into that backstory one of these days when we don't have a ton of news to get into. Charlie Walter on KPIX, CBS in San Francisco. I cover the Warriors championship run in 21-22. On today's show, it's pretty obvious, right? Steph Curry, the chef. That's all we're talking about. He receives a contract extension through 2026, 2027, setting him up to be a $500 million man here soon. Is Curry a Warrior for life? It's one of the questions we're diving into on today's show. We got this Woj bomb at lunch. I guess we have friends from other countries per the stats listening to this show, so maybe it wasn't lunchtime for you. For me, it was lunchtime. Looked down at the phone and just could not believe what I had seen. I wasn't expecting it, or I would have had the microphone on me for an emergency show. But this is a big step in making sure Curry does what not many have done in any sport. Hall of Fame career players playing for only one team, because this is how it sets things up. We'll get into the reasons why I believe Curry will be a Warrior for life with this new extension, despite players all the time signing extensions and then going elsewhere via the trade. But we got Kobe, we got Duncan, we got Dirk, Bill Russell, Larry Bird, John Stockton, Reggie Miller, Jerry West. You look at other sports, there's the Derek Jeter, Cal Ripken, John Elway, but it's a very short list. It's on, let's say I had 4 hands. I was on the Guinness Book of World Records with a man with 4 hands. If that's the case, I could probably fit all the athletes that have had Hall of Fame careers for a long time that played for one particular team. It's a massive point of pride in your legacy, I would think. I put it this way. A-Rod was a better baseball player than Derek Jeter. That's fair to say, right? Take away steroids, Balco, any of that stuff. Better baseball player than Derek Jeter. But who's the real Yankee? People would say Jeter. Peyton Manning, probably better football player than John Elway. Peyton Manning won a bowl for the Broncos, but who was the real Bronco? It's John Elway. Spent his whole career with him, not a couple seasons like Manning. I'd love to ask Jazz fans who they love more, Stockton or Malone. Because if it's Stockton, maybe it has something to do with Malone jumping to that Lakers dynasty that they had going on there. David Locke, if you're listening to the show, founder of Locked On Sports Podcast Network, is it Stockton? And is that a reason why? But there's something about finishing what you started in your career. And it does look like Steph has plans of doing that. It does. But what does this move tell you about the Warriors' plans that maybe you were unsure of yesterday? Does it give you any clearer of a picture? Because teams, like I said, they extend players, they trade them plenty. It happens all the time. But it tells me they are rewarding Curry and they are confident that their superstar is not regressing anytime soon. Their superstar is going to be super for another 3 seasons. Because this isn't the type of contract that you flip if he isn't all NBA caliber. It's just not. It's hard to find a team that can balance the apron act with that type of money. It's a ton of money. The extension will increase Curry's career earnings to $532 million in 2026, 2027. I can't whistle. I did my best, which will put him in a very exclusive club. LeBron James will be the first player to pass 500 million this upcoming season. Kevin Durant will be less than 200,000 short in 25-26. So if he plays another season, he'll join the club when Curry does, and then Paul George in 2027. So the list is short, to say the least, and very well deserved, to say the least, with Steph Curry. Check this one out. He had the 7th highest usage rate last year in the NBA. And based on this salary he's going to be earning, you would think that the Warriors believe he could be on this list or close to this list when that year comes as well. I mean, he was underpaid, Curry was, for his first, how many seasons? 2-3 seasons into the dynasty, really. Since the 2017-18 season, he's now been the highest player in the NBA and projects to hold that title after signing this extension for 10 consecutive seasons. Over a $500 million man. Can you believe it? And well-deserved. I mean, he is everything about the Warriors. You throw this up, they were a $315 million franchise in their valuation in 2009 before Curry burst onto the scene. $8.2 billion in 2024. So $60 million, it's like peanuts. That's absolutely nothing. You want to talk about the Warrior? He is the Warriors. First in career points for the franchise, first in career playoff points, first in assists, first in steals, first in money, first in field goals, first in playoff field goals, first in money, first in threes, first in cash in a single season in the NBA, first in playoff threes, first in wins, extended. Steph Curry earned this paycheck, to say the least. And it can only really be a bad thing. I have seen comments here and there. I feel like it should be pretty consensus around the board. Like, all right, this is probably the icing on the cake that Steph is going nowhere anytime soon, especially if he falls off even slightly, because then no one's picking up that type of money unless things change very much, which it could with new TV rights when that year comes. But as of right now, like if he's not all NBA or all-star level player, no one's trading. They can't. So it really does tie the Warriors into Curry for the long term. And we're going to talk about some of the players that they're tied into long term, what their plan could be here. But how about Steph Curry, man? How about him? Coming up, does Steph Curry have the cushiest job in America for someone that rich? Also, Los Angeles Lakers fans, shut up! He's not getting traded. Curry's not going anywhere. Is the big news is out on a Thursday. Steph Curry signs a big-time $62 million extension that'll keep him with Golden State through 2026-2027. More on Steph Curry coming up. But first, let us tell you about our sponsor, FanDuel. You've heard us talk about it a lot, and it's because it's America's #1 sportsbook, and we have something a little different for you. This is great. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. You get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket. It's from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment. You could cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. I got to play for y'all. Should we get a little drum roll and fire it up? Whoa! Joe Burrow to win NFL Comeback Player of the Year at plus 200. He shares those odds with Aaron Rodgers. This is the last of my, what do we want to call it? My prop bets before the season begins in the NFL. We threw out Joe Burrow to win Comeback Player of the Year at plus 200. I've also thrown out the 49ers to obtain the #1 seed in the NFC at plus 460. I like that one a lot. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's continue the conversation on Steph Curry, who is soon to be a $500 million man. That is a whole lot of money. Not a bad life whatsoever. $500 million. I had Ice Cube on a podcast a sports comedy podcast that I do as well, about 2 months ago. And one of the questions I asked him was, how the hell do you deal with the paparazzi? His answer, it's part of the game. If you don't want to be in the game, then get out. He compared it to Floyd Mayweather. He's like, that man make a lot of money, but he get hit. He get hit now. So what I'm getting at is all success requires sacrifice. But what's Steph Curry's paparazzi, or what's his having to get socked in the face? Like, what does he truly have to deal with that some of these other people that are this rich have to deal with on a given day? Does he have the cushiest job in America? That's what I teased it as. That's what I'm going to ask. I mean, he's universally very well respected. I mean, hell, I remember in Boston for the NBA Finals, I was covering them for CBS. And one of the man on the street stories that I did was just going up to Celtics fans and asking them random questions about the Warriors. And Steph Curry came up a lot. And they were all like, I don't hate Steph Curry. You know, I hate Draymond Green. They kept saying he gets under my skin. Like, can't stand him. I don't like Clay, Kerr, the worst. I don't mind Steph Curry. There was one dude that in pure Boston Savage mode came out with a mic in his face and just said, Steph Curry, I like his mother. I'm just like, bro, we're on live TV. Don't say that. Come on now. One thing that his job does require that is very underlooked is how intense of attention to detail he has to pay in his everyday life. Doesn't live like you and I. I cannot imagine Steph Curry scrolling into an algorithm that he gets stuck into for 30 minutes. He doesn't have it. He has to be focused at all times. The human body is fascinating. Aging just fights you so hard. And to be what Steph is at 36 and to do what he does athletically, you think of the movements that he does during a game. I mean, hell, what's his step count at? I would love to have Steph Curry on the, if he gets an office job, if he goes corporate 9 to 5 after he ends up with the Golden State Warriors and they do, the team with the most steps gets the lunch from Subway, whatever it may be. Oh yeah, we get Subway salads. If that's the case, I just love to be a fly on the wall in that room. It's like, hey, John, would you get 7,600 steps? Oh, John, good work. Linda, 14,000. Oh, track star. We got Linda over here making moves, getting steps in. How about you, Steph? 76,000. 76,000. But I mean, think about it. And his attention to detail and discipline has to be up there with anyone in the world. The stretching, it's got to be nonstop. The sleep, he's getting his 10 hours. He's not eating Gott's burgers every day on the way into Chase. He has an extremely disciplined diet. Eats 600 calories less than the average American consumes, even on Warriors game day. Think about that. Let's go with the average. 50% of you listening right now, while we are hitting the Peloton for 7 minutes in between work calls and getting our 7,000 steps in and crushing bags of Doritos and hammering out 17 straight games of Fortnite, Steph Curry is working out the entire day and still eating less than us. You think of what his body demands, he eats less than us. He also eats better than us. Chicken, salmon, pasta, rice, veggies are his go-to staples. The veggies he really loves. Veggies will save you, everyone. That's what they say. Eat your greens. Curry eats his greens, specifically broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus. And he's said over the years that his cheat meal is a little handful of popcorn. He's got the munchies for popcorn. I mean, can you imagine? I'd look like David Hasselhoff if my munchie food was popcorn, if that was the only cheat meal I had. It's popcorn. Probably has it like non-salted too and organic. He's dedicated his entire life to the Warriors, to prepping his body, to making sure that he's ready to go for game day, oftentimes playing into the heart of, into June, winning NBA championships, oftentimes, almost always. So I'm glad he's getting paid like it. And I hope that is a consensus take around Dub Nation, is Steph Curry gets the extension. The Warriors are now currently tied into a little bit of a core here, and it looks as such. Curry's contract expires at the same time as Draymond Green's. That's assuming that Green does pick up his $27.7 million option for the 2026-2027 season. Steve Kerr's contract does not align now. It aligned with Steph Curry's, but now that Curry's extended, Green picking up the player option would have them till 2027. Kerr, meanwhile, is up after 2025, 2026. And the Warriors currently have no contracts on their books beyond that year of 2027, save Buddy Hield's $10.1 million 2027-2028 player option. So Buddy Hield, there's Buddy Hield in 2027. He's like, where did everyone go? It's the Will Smith meme for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube. This is why you got to watch on YouTube. You got to be subscribed to both. We give you memes from time to time. But what this tells me about the Warriors is that they are invested in Steph Curry. Not necessarily the players they have around Steph Curry right now, because they do have some options. They can extend Jonathan Kuminga, and that extension's coming up here soon to where he's extension eligible, as is Moses Moody. They can extend both those guys. They could potentially let them walk. They could use that $30 million, whatever they're potentially spending on Jonathan Kuminga, to go find someone of equal value in free agency next year when they have a little bit more flexibility than they did this last offseason. They can trade guys. They're not going to trade Brandon Bajemski. More on that in just a second, but they can technically trade a lot of these players and some of the mid-level players too, like a DeAnthony Melton come wintertime. So they do have contracts they can flip. One thing is probably certain, that Andrew Wiggins, I don't think is going to be flipped anytime soon. They got to hope that he comes back to liking the game of basketball, or at least playing like he likes the game of basketball. They're going to be in some trouble because, as you see, again, Steph Curry is going to be making $62 million in 2026, 2027. Andrew Wiggins is going to be making $30 million that year. Draymond Green's going to be making $27 million. You have Hield on the books. You have Anderson potentially on the books, Pajemski, and Trace Jackson Davis. Those are your guys right now. That is your core. Now, I would imagine that'll change here soon, and Jonathan Kuminga, with those bird rights, does get extended, and he's a member of that core for the future. But you never know. We could see different things. But Andrew Wiggins is the one that really stands out. And Draymond Green, too. I mean, he's got a player option. They're I don't want to say stuck with Draymond Green until 2026, 27. But if he does something like he did last year and hurts the team, because that's what he did last year, hurts the team, punching your, money time players, that's hurting the team. Something like that, you may be regretting him having a player option then. But as long as he doesn't do those things, look, he's a valuable member on the floor. He's excellent defensively. He's the point guard of the defense. He allows the Warriors to play bigger than their size and to be a better defensive team than they would otherwise be without him. Almost twice as good. They were, like 15th in the league last year, around that mark without him. When he was playing, what was it, 8? They were the 8th best defensive team in the NBA. I believe those are close to the numbers. So, yeah, that's kind of what the Warriors are looking at moving forward in terms of their contract situation. So I'm still trying to figure out, what is this next era going to look like? But this next era is still going to involve Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins, unless you just cut him, or he plays better and you trade him, or what else are your options there? But it's going to involve those three guys. So that next era is an era that, we're the 3 of the 5 main contributors, even though Draymond Green didn't have the best series. The main 2 contributors plus a Hall of Famer is your era moving forward, and who they surround around those players, it's yet to be seen, but we'll see. What we do know is Steph Curry isn't going anywhere. It seems like he's going to be a Golden State Warrior for life. So the reports that came out, not even reports, it came straight from Steph Curry's mouth, where he said, I don't think I would want to play on a bottom feeder team to end my career. He didn't quote him exactly, but he wouldn't want to be a Kobe or be a Dirk, ride off into the sunset with a team that wasn't any good. He's a competitive guy. If he's in it to win it. The guy's cheap meals popcorn, for God's sakes. He's out there to win championships. He is given this franchise his all, and he's being paid like it right now. We're continuing the conversation. Brandon Bajemski. He's viewed as a priority right now with the Golden State Warriors. Are you a fan of Brandon Bajemski being one of the untouchables right now for the most part for Golden State? We'll get into it coming up on Locked On Warriors. I love this. Sports Illustrated. This is the Lakers page. Their headline today. Steph Curry signs extension with Warriors amid trade rumors. Why are we doing this? When did Steph Curry to the Lakers pick up some steam? I know that there were some talks about LeBron and Curry wanting to play with each other maybe, and the rumors that came out, not the rumors, the reports that came out that the Warriors were courting LeBron James before his agent pulled the plug and said, you don't want to do that for your legacy. So it helps his legacy for Steph Curry to come over to win an NBA championship with him. It doesn't make any sense. It never had any legs to me. Who is doing this? Why are we doing this? Do we need content that bad? Just talk slower or take an extra vacation day. We do not need it. But guess what? He's not going anywhere. So Lakers fans that thought you were getting Steph Curry, it's not going to happen. Go get Bogdanovich. Curry's great plays also helping the community. His new $62.6 million contract. God, that just sounds so nice right about now. The things that I would do, I'd buy myself a freaking cold plunge for no reason. I'd go on Amazon and have that thing delivered to my front door. Just be like, oh, yes. But my wife's like, what? Kylan's like, what the hell? You ordered a cold plunge? Oh, I just made $62 million. Sure, half of it was taxed. Doesn't matter. Cold plunge was like $5,000. We're good. Hop in. Yesterday's show, we talked all about Brandon Bajemski and how the Warriors are prioritizing him. They basically were very transparent with him in the offseason, both Dunleavy and Joe Lacob saying, you're ours. You're not going anywhere. You're a huge part of this future. Another, I guess, stunner in that report was that the front office and the coaching staff is hoping that Brandon Bajemski can start getting off 8 to 10 threes per game this season, up from his 3.2 last year. That tells me they expect Bajemski to take a massive jump in terms of usage rate, having the ball in his hands and creating his own shot, in addition to creating for others. Maybe a little Mr. Triple-Double type action. But they have massive expectations for Bajemski. I love him. I've said it on every episode. I'll say it again. When I'm watching him play, I'm like, that's how the game is supposed to be played. He has something about him that I like. The instincts, his ability to create for others. If he can get that mid-range game going to where he can knock down the pull-up J on a consistent basis to mix in with shots that he said he's trying to get rid of, the hook, the floater, takes charges, gets rebounds for his positions, can make spectacular passes, can really get the fans up with some. I mean, he was great at buzzer beaters last year. I don't know if that's something that you can call like a certain aspect of your game, but hey, I guess I'd put it under pressure, right? When the clock's winding down, put it in Bajemski's hand. He's going to call glass, hit the game winner. So I do like a lot of what I've seen from Brandon, and not game winner, I guess, at this point, but you know what I mean. At the end of the clock, he could put up some big shots. He's got kahunas, baby. Get the ball in his hands. The question now becomes, like Steph Curry, if he's your point guard, Bajemski's probably slotted to be a point guard. You're kind of working your core to the point where you have two point guards on the floor at the same time. Maybe Curry plays a little off ball. I don't know how it works out defensively, but again, with Draymond Green on the floor, you can really hide a lot of weaknesses in that regard. And Bajemski thinks he's going to be a much better defender this season. But I see him slotting in as a point guard, someone that brings the ball up the floor, and now adding Curry into a fold another year basically says that as long as Bajemski is on his rookie contract with the Warriors, he's not going to be the quote unquote starting point guard. You would imagine that role is Steph Curry's for a long time. So it's everything I got for you today. I do want to give you a little story before I head out of here for the night. When I heard this news that Curry had got the extension, I got the update on my phone. It pops up on ESPN. I'm out away from a microphone, away from a studio. I can't go live. I got things to do. So I'm like, I got to do a YouTube short real quick. Never done one. I got to do a YouTube short. In the last week, because I was talking about how Steph Curry doesn't mindlessly fall into the algorithm, I do from time to time. So I didn't want to watch Allen Iverson highlights at 3:00 in the morning. And I'm like, I've just watched 45 minutes I'm watching Nuggets Allen Iverson highlights. I didn't want that. So what I did is I bought an app. It was like $14 a year or something like that literally locks me out of apps unless I do activities. Like I could do 10 squats to get 5 minutes on YouTube. I could do 5 push-ups to get 1 minute on Instagram. I mean, it's good in that regard. I've done like 1,000 push-ups. I'm like Herschel Walker in the last week. But I mean, good God. Today, when I'm trying to do that story, I'm sitting in my car. I'm like, am I really going to have to get it out in a Safeway parking lot and crank out 20 to be able to post this video? So I thought that was a pretty ridiculous story. I guess at this point, I just cut my losses and get rid of the app. I can't like restrict it to where it's like, no, turn off. You know, it's like when someone says, it's like in The Walking Dead or something where he's like, yeah, I'm going to go out and sacrifice myself. I'm going to be screaming. They're going to be tearing off my limbs. But whatever you do, do not open that door. And then all of a sudden his hands go, he saved me. And they're like, no, you said not to open it. That's what it's like in this situation. So I'm doing the push-ups. Thank you for your concern, everyone. It's a ridiculous story. I know. Locked On Warriors, we give it to you. Kylan Mills and myself, the hosts of this show. So yeah. Hey, everyone. Yes, I am an official host finally on the show. We'll get into it in the A block eventually as we move forward. But today, with all the news that we had, it was not a day to give a full rundown of who I am. But I appreciate everyone for tuning into Locked On Warriors. If you like the show, please go ahead and give it a solid review. This is not a shameless plug, but we are the lowest rated show right now on Locked On due to past discretions that I had nothing to do with. So if you appreciate the show, I'm here giving you content. We appreciate the thumbs up on YouTube and the review, maybe updated or a new review on the podcast app. So everyone, one final time, Steph Curry, a Golden State Warrior for the long haul through 2026, 2027. This is Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. It is going to be live after every single game during the season. It's going to be a great time. Have a great day.